So one important part of writing a thesis is the mechanics of actually putting the document together. There's two pieces I want to talk about briefly now. One of them is about how to use styles, so you actually get the formatting done correctly and simply, and the other is just a quick comment about bibliographies. Using styles. Now I'm going to show this on the PC. Mac users are usually kind of intuitive about these things, and the styles feature of the Mac are found either in the toolbox, which is up in the very top of the screen for a Mac person, or under a menu called Format and then Styles, or on the toolbar in Microsoft Word, and that's what we're looking at here. But I'll do this on the PC because Royal Roads is still stuck with PCs. So what you have to do is you have to set up styles so that they will do what you want them to do for APA 6th heading. And on the PC, the way you notice here, you have this little heading styles toolbar. You have a similar thing in the Macintosh. You want to be able to change the headings to make them work for us in terms of APA 6th. So what you do is you go down here and you bring up the styles. Now we've got to make these work, so we have to know what the styles are for the different levels of headings. So what we want to do is we want to go to the little arrow on the side, and the same is true with the Mac, and you want to modify. Now if you've never done this modification, you can do a lot of stuff with it. Heading 1, you could even call it APA 1, but I'm just leave it as heading 1. Heading 1, we don't use blue style, blue colors. We want to get it down to Times New Roman. We want it to be 12 point. We want it to be bold. We want it to be centered. And we want it to be double spaced. We can also go here to format, and a lot of this is about formatting paragraphs. We want it to be centered. The outline is level 1. This will be part of our table of contents features. We don't want it left to right. We don't want any spaces before. We don't want any spaces after. We want it to be double spaced, and totally okay. We've now got APA heading 1 done correctly. We've got to modify APA heading 2. APA heading 2, we've got heading 2 here again. We don't want it to be blue. We want it to be bold. We don't want it to be 13 point. We want it to be 12. We want it to be Times New Roman. Go back to the formatting, paragraph. We don't want any indenting left to right. We don't want any spaces afterwards. We want it to be double spaced. And if we go to the other tab here, line and page breaks, one thing to use is to make sure that keep with next is checked. And that means that heading 2 will never be at the bottom of a page, and then the text will begin on the next page. The body text will begin on the next page. Okay, so we got 2 of them done. And you're probably going to want to set up a heading 3. Now there is no heading 3 on this list here, but if we go to options, if we go to all styles, we now see a heading 3 here. Again, we can modify that. We don't want it blue. We don't want it 11. We want it 12. We don't want it Cambria Times Roman. We want it to be double spaced. But now we want it to be indented, because that's where heading 3, I believe, is. So we want it to be indented a ½ inch. So we set that up there. We don't want any spaces before or after. Double space. Again, make sure that it's keep with next. Okay, we've got our 3 headings done now. Perfect. Okay, the next thing we want to do is make a new style for body text. Click the new style. It's similarly found in the Mac world. We want to call it body text, and we want to make it right. We want to make Times New Roman. We want it to be 12 point. We want it to be double spaced. We want to go to the formatting and make sure that the first line is indented. It'll do that automatically. We don't want any extra spaces, and that's it. Now we've got a style for bodies. For our body text. And there's another style that we have to deal with, which is the quote style. This one here, quote. So you want to make sure that the quote is done also 12 Times Roman, but the difference now is that we want the whole quote to be indented 1/2 inch. We want the quote to be double spaced. We don't want any extra space afterwards. And that's it. Now we've got the quotes done. Okay, so with that, we can start typing. We can start doing our thesis. We want to talk about chapter 1. Chapter 1 is going to be heading 1, and there it is. It's done. It's done correctly. And then we can start typing. That clearly is not APA type. Now we just have, and there's body text here. Okay, now it's done properly in terms of APA body text. We can keep on typing and just have a great time with all this, and it does it all correctly. And now we need to make our second level heading, heading 2. Heading 2 is now done correctly. We type a little bit more. You notice it's styled here as body text. And now we want to, if the computer will work properly, we want this to be a heading 3 level. It's done correctly. You note, if you remember APA, it asks you to put a period at the end. There are capitalization rules that aren't expressed in the document itself, but that's how it has to be done. Okay, if we have a bunch of text that is a direct quote that's more than 40 pages, if it's a direct quote more than 40 pages, we use the quote style. Oh, I made a mistake there. It's italics. I'm going to modify it, get rid of that italics button, and now it's where it should be. And so that's a proper formatting for a quote in APA. And that's what you have to do. Once you've done all that, there are buttons that allow you to see, under options, not all the styles, but just the styles in use. Simplifies your styles menu so you don't have to see everything. And basically that's what you need. Body text, headings 1, 2, and 3, and the quotes. And if you can get that done, you'll have the thesis that is laid out properly, formatted correctly, and you'll be happy. Okay, good luck. So once you've figured out the styles, and you all should be able to do that, and you want to use it, it will really help you to feel you've got the thesis a little bit more under control. The other thing I would strongly recommend to any graduate student is use a bibliography program. And the university provides you at no cost RefWorks. I have a personal preference for EndNote. There's a new program for the Mac called Papers. Whatever, just use one. Start at the outset of your coursework even, let alone at the outset of your thesis, to put all the things you read into a bibliography program. Put them in correctly based on the APA 6th rules, which are around capitalization. The program won't fix capitalization problems. But if you use RefWorks, EndNote, Papers, Mendeley, Zotero, whatever, consistently, when you start writing your thesis, you start building your bibliography. If there's any problems with the bibliography, you fix it in the software, in the bibliography program, and you'll not have that problem again with it. It will make your life much easier. It'll make your supervisor's life much more pleasant because they won't have to be going back and forth to make sure that you've got everything included in both the citation and in the reference list at the end of the document. So trust me, this is something you want to do. Use a bibliography program.